This is eCommerce Uncensored. Brought to you by Fast Forward Unlimited. We're coming to you fully loaded and exposed with all the strategies and techniques for growing your e-commerce business.
Hey everyone, and thanks for joining us on another episode of eCommerce Uncensored. This is episode 118. My name is Kevin Lindell, and I'm here with
Jason Caruso
and Paul Chu.
And today, guys, we actually have a question from one of our listeners that she asked me not to mention her name.
I love when we hear from our listeners. It's my favorite.
Yeah, and you know,
did that sound fake? Did that sound like weird?
Yeah,
it did. It came out a little weird, but I was really,
it was genuine.
I was really genuine about that. It didn't sound genuine.
Yeah. And so we're going to answer a question that she had, which is a pretty interesting one. She wants to know how she would scale a digital company that sells very inexpensive downloadable products. She said that she's in a niche that's actually people aren't used to spending a lot of money, and she's selling products between $5 and $8, I believe, each. And she's having a hard time scaling that. So
I don't just like hearing from people just because I never know who we're talking about, but it's really good to get topics from. It really helps us. We're like,
yeah.
I remember reading it. Like, I think it came in over the weekend. I was like, okay, we're good.
Yeah, I just told somebody about that. Like, I love that it gives us an instant topic, which is nice.
And we had a conversation with someone else on the phone yesterday.
We'll get into that.
And there was another question that we're going to answer.
Yeah. So before we do, I'd like to talk about our favorite email platform.
Yes.
Relationship building platform, which is Clayvo. And if you go to ecommerceuncensored.com/email, it will redirect you to Clayvo. So getting to what Kevin just said, that we were contacted by a listener. Kim, if you're listening, how you doing? It was awesome talking to you. She has a really awesome product. She's using Clayvo as well. She said one of the agencies that she was working with recommended Clayvo. We recommended Clayvo, and she really wants help building out like flows and automations and relationship building type emails, which obviously we do. That call was actually a perfect fit because she's using Clayvo. We love Clayvo. We use Clayvo.
And she's using it very little. There's so much potential there.
Easy.
What? She is. She's like
jumped in, like scared me.
He's excited about it.
I'm excited about it. I think it's great.
Well, this relationship was going to be awesome if it works out. And I spoke with another listener of ours. Man, we're getting a lot of people reaching out to us who basically said, I thought Klaviyo is for bigger companies, and it's really not. Mm-hmm. Klaviyo is really for any size company. I mean, they're actually for smaller companies that can't afford the enterprise version email platforms. And we're also doing a course that everybody who is listening to us, and everybody who has purchased the course seems to be purchasing the email marketing automation course, that's at ecommerceuncensored.com/learn. We have a couple courses in there, Facebook course. Originally, the course was going to be $497, but now we broke it up into smaller courses. So you can go there. We're going to be talking about automations, Facebook ads.
I think they hear about these automations and we talk about the power of these flows. But when you get into it, a lot of these companies just think of email marketing as just like these weekly email blasts or, things that you design that you put out there once a month or once every 2 weeks just to broadcast something. But behind the scenes, there's so much more power behind the automations.
Yeah, the relationship building.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about.
So did we give out the Klaviyo link yet?
Yes, I did. ecommerceuncensored.com/email.
And after you sign up for Klaviyo, go join our Facebook group.
Yes.
ecommerceuncensored.com/Facebook.
I think we're giving out too many.
All the plugs.
I know.
So many plugs.
Anyway. So let's talk about scaling smaller or more inexpensive products. The irony in this is the person Kim, who reached out to us, actually her product is like $400.
Yeah, it's the opposite.
Which is the opposite, but I think that she can also, she's going to be able to take some pointers out of this too, because they're having also a similar problem where they have one product that they're selling. So the quick and easy answer to scaling an inexpensive product is selling your current customers other stuff.
Yeah, one of the biggest points of her email, her question to us was, should I just, create more expensive stuff, or should I try to sell them just more of the cheaper things?
Yeah, and Russell Brunson talks about this value ladder, right? So he has this ladder, and he starts at the bottom, and the value that you give at the bottom is different than the value you give at the top of the ladder. So at the bottom, you start out with these inexpensive products, and as you work your way up the ladder, you get more expensive products. And as you go up, the amount of people that take the product is going to be different, right? So he has his inner circle, which is whatever, $30,000. That's at the top of his ladder. He only allows 100 people in that, inner circle. But at the bottom, he has all these little, CDs and downloadable products for whatever, $37 or $50 or whatever. And as he brings people up that ladder, as I said, things get more expensive. So her concern was that the industry that she's in is not it's not big, first of all, but it also is not people with a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
However, what I would say to that is that doesn't mean people without a lot of money aren't going to pay a little bit more for other things, right? So if you have a product that's $5 to $8, yeah, you'll get a lot of people buying that. But now if you go up the ladder to your $50 product, you're not going to get as many people buying it, but you don't need as many people to buy it, right? You're kind of weeding out the people as you go up the ladder. I was Pat Flynn, if you guys aren't familiar with him, he's like one of the biggest podcasters out there, at least in the business world. And when I had my blog, I was on his podcast. It's funny that I remembered this exact episode where the person right before us, I think I was episode 123. This is in 2014. They were episode 122, and they basically had they were making $150,000 or $100,000 a month selling exactly what this listener is selling, which is like librarian downloadable products. And I can't call you out by name because you asked me not to use your name, but if you go to Pat Flynn and look up episode SBI 122, from teachers to totally rocking it on online, and I can't see it because it's blocked. But if you look for Smart Passive Income SPI 122, it'll walk you through exactly what they did. And what they did was they sold like these cheap lesson plans, and then they tried to get people on a webinar that sold like $100 product. Not a really expensive thing, but it took people from the bottom of the ladder kind of up the ladder. And I would recommend, if any of you guys are selling these inexpensive products, try to find clever ways to bring people up that ladder.
Well, I think it's not totally about price. It's more about the value that you can give someone, right? So you're able to get somebody's credit card out for a $5 or $8 item. Now give them so much value after that when you go to sell them something, they can't say no because they know how much value they're going to get out of it.
That ladder, I don't know if I mentioned it, but that ladder is also a value ladder as well, right? Did I say that?
No.
I don't think it's also a value ladder. So you start at the bottom, you're giving them the least amount of value at the bottom, and as you go up, Russell's inner circle is actually having him there twice a year. So that value is much higher. The one thing that I can't as we're talking this through here, right now at this particular moment, our agency, which is called Fast Forward, is basically, for lack of a better word, blowing up, I guess.
You could say that.
I can say that. And not in a bad way.
The awareness is blowing up.
Well, that's not really where I was going with that, but clients are kind of flooding in here.
Mm-hmm.
And what I think has happened is the amount of value that we give our clients it surpasses what other agencies do, right? Like we give them so much value, so much of our time for what they're paying us, that I feel like it's finally starting to come around in a big way, right? Kim, who reached out to us, has an awesome product that we're really excited to be part of if it all works out. We have like these other products coming in that are the same thing. And I feel like, you know, in the beginning, we gave more value than we were getting paid for. But now we're giving so much value and we're actually getting paid for it. And it's kind of like the same thing, right? Like the more value you give, the more money you can ask for. And just because you're selling products that are $5 to $8 doesn't mean that there aren't people in that group that will pay $100, right?
Yeah, sure.
Or pay $50.
Especially if you're giving them so much value that they can't resist it. Now, there's many. I think the hardest part is that she's having is what else can she offer, you know, to these people. And I think you have to start becoming creative with that kind of stuff too. Think of ways that you can deliver that information in several different ways. Like for Russell Brunson, for instance, he sells you on a book. Then he tries to sell you on a digital product. Then he sells you on a CD. Then he has you buy his black box thing that he has. So, like, think about your course. You could create it on a I don't want to say a CD. Like, who the hell is a CD player? Like, I think one of the guys, he puts it on a hard drive. He puts all of his content on a thumb drive that you can sell to people. There's so many different ways to deliver
what's
it.
his name? Billie Jean put it on a
Yeah, it's like a cool little flash drive.
Oh, yeah, it's right
there. What the hell is it?
A chip?
A chip, like a poker chip.
Poker chip. I couldn't get that out either.
Yeah. The other guy,
it's cool.
the guy you've been studying for copywriting, like he just sells you a monthly subscription to a monthly newsletter that he prints out and sends to you.
These librarians I was telling you about, right? They basically surveyed their audience and said, "Hey, what's your biggest pain point?" And the biggest pain point they found with their audience, these librarians, is like finding new lesson plans, right? Like that was like a big thing. So what they did was and I may not be getting this exactly right, but this is something like what they did. They had this product that was like $100 or $97 or whatever it was, but it was 12 lesson plans. Like, so it's like the entire year. So, you know how we scrambled to come up with topics for our podcast? Well, I guess librarians scrambled to have new lesson plans. So what she does is she gives you, or they gave you, I believe 12 lesson plans for $97. And now the librarian solved a huge problem, right? Now they have lessons for the entire year. And maybe it was 10 lessons because there's only 10 months of school, whatever it was. And what they said was that every year the librarians came back. Mm-hmm. So it was $97 and it was a good recurring revenue model. And as they grew that, think about it. You only need, what is that? 100 people or whatever at $100 is, whatever, $100,000, whatever. I don't know if that math is right, but as you get that, you have that recurring revenue model, and that's a good way to kind of bring, try to solve a bigger problem for people is basically what it is in this scenario.
And you got that audience, you got the person who was going to pay, who paid you. Now, even if they used to say with your baking blog that you had, you would do all these videos, you would do all this content. I assume the content that she's providing is in some kind of video form, or she demonstrates, or she does things.
Well, the lesson plans are downloadable because they're using them for the students.
I'm just talking about like this person who emailed us. Like the lessons she's selling are some kind of digital download or something. But like you can take pieces of it. Like you used to do baking videos, and then the tools that you would use would be for sale. So
in the videos.
Yeah. So say you're using a special planner, like in your demo or whatever it may be. Sell the demo or sell the planner on your website.
Yeah.
Sell the pencils, for God's sakes, that you're using.
Yeah, people want to just use the stuff that you're using. How many people have asked us, like, what kind of microphones you're using? What kind of, like, and we had the same questions for other people in that group you guys are in, or whatever you're Albert's in. People want to know. What's the mic you're using? What's the mixer you're using? And all the equipment. All the equipment.
So for this listener, do you think it would be smart for her to maybe expand on her audience I mean, without kind of unveiling what it is and exposing like her identity and stuff, if it's for librarians or if it's an educational type product, could she expand maybe to mothers to teach their kids, or maybe just broaden the audience that way it's not so niche, even though that is a smart strategy?
Well, I mean, that's a good question. I think she's having problems reaching out to another audience. I think that the email was saying is like she wants to stay. It's not a huge niche, niche.
Mm-hmm.
But the librarians I'm talking about it's the same kind of niche. It's very small, and they were just selling more products.
It's not really small. I mean, every school has a librarian, so pretty much. So it's actually, there's quite a bit of people out there.
Well, but there's not millions. I wouldn't say there are millions of schools in the U.S.?
Yeah.
You think so?
Probably.
Millions?
I mean, how many schools are in New York City, for God's sakes? A lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's actually...
It's a lot.
It's kind of good that she has such a niche, that she can focus on such a thing. But
yeah. Well, I guess, maybe not broaden it that much, but I'm just thinking like you have librarians or teachers, but what about hitting tutors? What about hitting college kids who are just going to tutor for a summer that still might be able to use that even though their profession isn't a tutor? I know it's hard to reach that.
No, I think that's a good idea. The only thing I would say is that's not like a next step, right? Like I think the next step would be sell more stuff to the people you have.
Mm-hmm.
And once you've kind of exhausted that, then maybe, like you said, I like the tutor idea. That's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
We're moving on to other sections of the same kind of thing. So you're not recreating products. You're using the same products over and over. But I think she has more room to grow within the people that she's already selling to. Like, look, I think that everybody values their time. And if you can save people time, they'll find the $50. They'll find the $100, right? You can save people time and energy and work, right? Like, we just paid $1,000 for this lead generation course, right? I mean, it was worth $1,000 to not have to go figure it out on my own.
yeah.
Right? Like we paid $1,000 for this course. Seems like a lot of money, but man, the knowledge that I got out of that course and the shortcut to all the questions that I needed answered were right in that course, man. And I'd pay $1,000 again for it. You know what I'm saying?
Has he tried to sell you anything else since you bought it?
No. In fact, he's actually added a second course to it with just as much content, and he's given it to his members for free.
He's probably working on his next course, but that's what I'm saying. Like he's given away so much value at this point to you that next time when he creates this next course that he's probably working on.
No, it's done already. It's a mastermind course for $50 a month.
So there you go.
That is not free.
Yeah. So that's the thing that he's going towards. So that's why he's giving you so much.
Yeah.
And when you it doesn't have to be a real complicated thing either to sell other products either. You don't have to think about like, how am I going to get products or what do I have to buy them from? You can even just start out like doing Amazon affiliate products. We generate some revenue. It's not a whole lot of revenue, but at least you can put products out there and see if people are going to buy them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Definitely. But going back to our listener, I think coming up with creative ways to save time and energy and money for the current people is a good way to scale up. Mm-hmm. And then, kind of go out to different audiences.
Yeah, that's just another level of scaling. So sell more to the people that you have and then try to bring more people in.
Yeah, and so get creative. Sell, as I said, like there's always other problems you could solve. Like we talk about like doing things like faster, right? Like people always pay for speed. Like, hey, I want to make $1 million in 5 years. But for another $1,000, we'll show you how to do it in 5 months. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, I want that. Mm-hmm. So, faster, better results, those kind of things kind of sell.
I thought that's like one of the first things I thought about yesterday when we spoke to this other woman on the phone. They're pretty much a startup. They haven't been around that long, but they do have a customer base. And I'm like thinking to myself, like, all right, we have these people who spent this much money on a product. How can we sell them other things? Like that would be like kind of the first place we would go. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that would go back to Clayvo. Yeah. eCommerceUncensored.com/email and sign up. 250.
Amazing segue, by the way. Well done.
You like that?
Yeah. That was like professional.
I'll tell you what, man. I swear to God, I talk to so many people that reach out to me and they all are using Klaviyo. It's awesome that people are actually listening to us. Yeah. I don't care what Klaviyo says. People are doing it. People are signing up because they tell me every day, I'm using Klaviyo. Thank you for recommending it. I'm using Klaviyo because all you do is talk about them. I'm using Klaviyo. So people are listening, and we appreciate that.
Powerful stuff.
Yeah, ecommerceuncensored.com/email. Also, if you want to join one of our courses, ecommerceuncensored.com/learn. You can find us on Facebook, videos on Instagram and Facebook. Fast forward. I'm sorry. E-commerce Uncensored.
You're kind of creeping me out, Albert, with that little wiggle you got going on over there.
And ecommerceuncensored.com/Facebook and join our group.
Cool. Thank you guys so much for listening. This has been episode 118. As always, you can check us out at ecommerceuncensored.com. Talk to you guys real soon.
Later.
See ya.